You want to give the Sunday message? Is that what? Oh, I love it. Okay, so today on this Palm Sunday, we make it Rose Sunday. This is so beautiful. And I'm going to do a shorter talk. Not that short, but a shorter. And then we're going to do our Rose Blessing, which is so special, I think, to each and every one of our hearts. So the theme for today and for April is about raising our consciousness to new heightened levels of awareness. A wonderful byproduct of this resurrected consciousness is a life rich with meaning, with joy, with abundance, with peace, and with love. Those are the qualities that we're raising our consciousness in. We need it. We really, really need it so that we can express our powerful nature. Today, the Sunday before Easter, we will look to Jesus' experience. We're going to bring that into it. And as the wise way shower, the one that knew who he was. And we're going to look at Jesus' experience in the Garden of Gethsemane as the ultimate example of letting go, of releasing and surrendering so that his consciousness could be raised to new heights. We're always evolving when we tune into our consciousness. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? What are we speaking? How are we acting? How are we showing up in the world? And it's a height that could not have been achieved were it not for the letting go, the releasing, and the surrendering, because that's what he did. And after that talk, as I said, this talk, we'll do the Rose Blessing. I suspect that most of you know the events surrounding Jesus' life at this time, but if you, in the event that you do not, we're going to do a synopsis. We're going to do a short talk about it. This is from the book of Matthew, chapter 26. Shortly after eating a Passover dinner with his disciples, which became known as the Last Supper, Jesus went into the Garden of Gethsemane to pray, and he brought with him 3 of his disciples to stay awake with. This wasn't just any prayer. Jesus went to pray. He went to the garden because he was afraid. He knew what was going to be happening. And he was a human as well as we all are, as expanded consciousness. So his human self was afraid. And I think it's safe to say that in his humanness, that fear is something we all experience every once in a while. But this is our example. Not once, not twice, but 3 times he prayed the same prayer. Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. And the reminder of the prayer and the remainder of the prayer was this. But if this cup cannot pass, and if I must drink it, then it will not be as I will, but as thou wilt. Not my will, thou will. Let it be not as I will, but as thou wilt. These are the ultimate words of surrender. The idea of surrendering to God's will over the years has gotten a really bad rap, with good reason. First, in many conventional religions have used it in a way that explain those experiences in the world that we just as soon not have. You might have heard it growing up, maybe even now. It's God's will that you be sick. It's God's will that you lose your job. You know, I used to hear this when I was in Catholicism. And it's not God's will, but that's what is taught. We're going to get into that today. I want us to be clear on God's will and what it is for us, as us. And in the New Thought movement, we also, though, have surrendered to God's will. That whole phrase, that kind of has gotten, this is New Thought, has kind of gotten a bad rap also, since we are usually so focused on the attitude of it's up to us, taking responsibility, which is true, but it can be to the extreme that we blame it. There's a book by Robert Schuller, If It Is to Be If It's Up to Me. So everything that happens, we're blaming ourselves for in the world. And that's not how we want to live our lives either. There's a third reason, and a much deeper reason, that we may be reluctant to release. This is true. To let go, to surrender to God's will. We are simply afraid of what might happen. If I let go, if I really let go, well, I don't know, this could happen and this could happen. Do I let go? We think it means that we wouldn't get what we want, or we'll have to sacrifice something. It might mean that we would have to lead some boring religious life, or that God would dream up some horrible things for us to have to do. And my goodness, Jesus surrendered. He surrendered to divine will. And look what happened to him. He died, right? So, Carolyn Mace, in her book, Enter the Castle, great book, have a great class on that, spent a good time of dealing and exploring this idea. She writes, even as we crave spiritual intimacy with the divine, we also have deep fears about God and the ways that an encounter with the divine will change our lives. We long for guidance, but are terrified of revelation. We pray to know God, but fear God's answers. Muhammad, for instance, ran into a cave to hide from the angel that Allah had sent to enlist him in the services of the divine. Jesus had to face his fears about the calling. Many people end up frozen between worlds, filled with the desire to pursue their spiritual potential, this is Mace, and fearing that follow it will dismantle their everyday lives. And I'm here to tell you that it will dismantle your everyday lives. And guess what, folks? It's scary, and it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. When I dismantled my life because of this spiritual center, because the divine called me, everything changed. And it was very scary, because I had nothing. But I did have something. I had the beginning of a whole beautiful, rich life, this community. And I had to leave the old and surrender all attachment to everything in order to move forward. And boy, was that the greatest decision I ever made. So, no, we don't know what's going to happen when we surrender, when we release. But I'm here to tell you, if this is a God of good, and we believe this is a God of good, then only good is going to take place in our lives. And if we truly believe that, it does. It takes place in so many different ways, on so many different levels. So we are afraid of what surrendering to God's will might mean for us. It might mean we have to give up things. Well, maybe not our lives, but maybe our lifestyle. I did for about a week. And then I got right back into it. Now, I'm an abundant creature, so none of that's going to work for me. And I'm so glad I had that attitude, because it didn't work for me. I'm abundant. You're abundant. We're all abundant if we but know it and believe it. There are many additional reasons for our hesitancy to surrender to God's will, but I think those are the big ones. Those are the ones that lead us to a higher consciousness. And a higher consciousness is evolution. And we were here to always evolve. As we evolve, God evolves, because we are God in human form. So our evolution is the evolution of the divine. It has to be. It has to be. And science is proving that, which I love. There may be not all science, let me just make that clear. We know that. Not Newtonian. Not the old science. The new science is proving that. There may be additional reasons for that hesitancy, but we are moving forward. And for those reasons, we might not release. We might not let go. And we think we really can't surrender to the will of the divine, which is really our will, right? The power for good, greater than we are, as Ernest Holmes said. And it's all within us. So we are really surrendering to our own divinity. To use the words of Ernest Holmes, is the power for good greater than we are. And it really is greater as we are. But when we won't, when we don't, or when we think we can't, it is because we are missing a really, really important part of that statement. And that is, this is a power for good. This is the power that will support you in every way possible. And that, my friends, is a deep, powerful spiritual truth that we absolutely believe. We absolutely believe that. Now, let's be very clear about something here. We do not believe that God exists as a reluctant man in the sky to whom we must beg and plead for our good. We don't believe that. We believe in a oneness, a unity, an entanglement of all life, not just human life, all life. So what are we surrendering to? What are we surrendering to? What are we letting go of? What are we releasing to? Is a higher dimension of ourselves that is greater than anything we can really know with this human mind. And let me say that again, because this is the key to this morning's lesson. When we surrender to the will of God, the will of good, we are surrendering to a higher dimension of ourselves that is greater than who and what we know ourselves to be. In my advanced consciousness class that I took last week, I'm taking it for 30 weeks, as you know, for the third year. But in that class, we had the author of the book that we are using, which is Quantum Revelation, and the author is Paul Levy. Well, Paul Levy spent the class with us, which was absolutely fascinating. Very powerful man. But he told us to be very clear that we have a superpower within us that we don't realize. And this power is so great that we truly can. We can do whatever we think we can do. That power is here to guide us, to allow us to be it. Whatever you can think, you can achieve it. You can achieve it. Because we're not here alone. We're here together. We're here together. There's only one, right? And so he said that we're so much more powerful than we realize. And Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith says it this way: when we surrender to the will of God, we are surrendering to the next stage of our own evolution. Since the presence of God is infinite, he's no end, can't end. And since we really are God in manifestation, then there will always be more of us seeking to express. So in actuality, when we surrender, we are opening a space within us where there's a space. Because when we don't surrender, it's all crammed up with all of our beliefs, with all of our expectations, with all of our judgments. So we open up to let God become more conscious of itself as us. To let love express more of itself as us. To let abundance reveal more of itself as us. To let wholeness make known more of itself as us. And again, Carolyn Mason, Entering the Castle, writes, your soul tells you everything is in the hands of a force greater than what you perceive in the present moment. Let go. Do not let the illusion of the moment seduce you into a misperception. Let it go. Other guidance is at work that you cannot see or hear. You are not alone, she says. Let go, surrender. And this is what Jesus did in the garden. After he prayed not once, not twice, but 3 times to let the cup pass from him. He surrendered to the Father's will, to what he knew to be the greater good, to his higher self, to the truth of his being. That's what he surrendered to. He knew this was the truth of his highest being. He trusted, which is a big word, he trusted that the will of God or divine perfection of who he was would prevail, and that life itself would triumph even over the appearance of death. When Ernest Holmes talks about the will of God in Science of Mind, he writes, this is good, the will of God cannot be death. Hear that. Why? Because if we assume God to be the principle of life, the principle of life cannot produce death without destroying itself. The will of life has only to be life. You can't die. There would be nothing. That would be the end of everything. God's will cannot be death. The spirit of life cannot know death. Do people leave their bodies behind? Of course, yes, they do. Unless you're so evolved that you ascend with your whole body, but I don't know of anyone that's done that, but all things are possible, right? Does that mean that they are dead to the God of all life just because they leave their bodies behind? Because we're all going to leave our bodies behind. That's not who we are. We are not these physical forms. We are so much more. We are soul. We are beauty. We are infinite potentiality. That's what we are. Even beyond physical death. So he had that degree of trust because he trusted in his higher self. He could see beyond the world of appearances. What would it take for us to surrender our small thinking minds to the mind of our higher self, the divine Noah within all of us? Could we just surrender? Could we just simply claim, "Thy will be done," and then rest in the sweet assurance that all was well? All is well. We will continue. Our souls will evolve continuously. We can to begin to really trust that God's will is for good. It's for good, only good. And Ernest Holmes tells us, the will of God is always toward that which expresses life and happiness, saying, "Thy will be done" is the greatest prayer because it is saying, I surrender who I think I am, what I think I know, my hopes, my fears, my dreams, my doubts. I surrender everything to the will, the truth of God, the higher self, willing to lay down what I thought I knew to the one who knows beyond what I see. That soul within us knows beyond this human realm. So what are you willing to do this morning? In a few moments, we're going to have our rose blessing ceremony. And during this ceremony, I want you to contemplate surrendering, just letting go, just even for a few moments, a few minutes. Letting go, surrendering your human will to your divine will. The will of the all-good, the will of our higher self, so that you too can move to the next stage in evolution. So during this rose blessing, I ask you to allow the idea of "Thy will be done" to be the ultimate act in the evolution of your soul. So you can keep evolving. That's why we are here, to keep evolving. And you will be so very blessed by God's amazing grace. So, this rose blessing symbolizes in ceremony our recognition that the human is immersed in the divine, that we are all truly one in God, and that we live in an all-embracing circle of divine love. We recognize today that each one of you comes forth from God, and that each of you is a divine creation, and that this wholeness is the very being, the very life, the very essence of who you are. Truly, you are made in God's image. This moment is a defining moment for each one. In this moment, you publicly pledge to allow your Christ light to shine, to release your will to the will of the divine living as you. In this public moment, yet within the privacy of your own hearts, I invite you to commit to yourself and to God that you will no longer allow fear, doubt, resentment, unforgiveness, or any other false belief of lack and limitation to control you. From this moment forward, I invite you to commit to allowing God to express itself more fully and freely through you than ever before. By your choice to align yourself with the divine principles of peace, happiness, and abundance. Will you do this to the best of your ability?
Yes.
If you will, then that's great. In a moment, Reverend Rita and I will individually bless those who desire by having Reverends Carol and Barb. We're good at this. They're going to, this water here is blessed with Reverend Rita's sacred oil of rose and what? Frankincense. And frankincense, rose and frankincense. So there's a blessing involved for each one of you if you choose. You don't have to come out. It's up to you. So let me just tell you a little bit about this. The water symbolizes the flow of life, the flow of clarity, and the flow of wisdom through you. We have added, as I said, these beautiful oils into this water. The rose, always a symbol of love, today symbolizes the divine love that supports you through any of life's changes. Please, when you come up, you're just going to walk up the center aisle, and if you choose to receive the blessing and a rose. When it has been blessed, please return to your seat. So I invite Reverend Rita, Barb, and Carol to come forward.
Keep going.
Why not?
Okay.
Oh yeah, turn it off.
Okay.
Right.